This is Minmi, a small ankylosaur that is a bit of a meme in the Isle community.
Minmi on top, better run away. Minmi on top today.
Since its reveal, it's amassed an almost cult-like following by doing something deceptively simple, being cute. But apart from that, its proposed abilities give this unassuming little critter the potential of being the single most successful dinosaur in the game, while also providing a beginner-friendly experience for players who may not be super familiar with the mechanics. But first, my analytics tell me that only 6.8% of you guys are actually subscribed to the channel. Guys, you're literally breaking the Geneva Convention. It says it right there. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I make videos about the Isle and other fun stuff. Normally, I wouldn't ask for subscribers, but I made it a personal goal to hit 10K before the end of the year. So yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we're moving on with the video. What does it mean to be successful? The Isle's Apex roster was handpicked by dudes with unyielding murder boners, wanting to include the deadliest, most unnecessarily awesome creatures that have ever walked the earth, including the likes of Tyrannosaurus, Spinosaurus, Triceratops, Shantungosaurus, and many others whose presence alone would send most humans into cardiac arrest. Whether or not their renditions are scientifically accurate is another story. The point is that these individuals are called apexes for a reason. Strong, heavy, and with looks that could kill, they embody every trait that make them invincible to everything that isn't each other. So what if I told you they all sucked? Okay, they don't suck. They just wouldn't be as successful as Minmi. You see, throughout natural history, success is not always determined by pure size or strength, but rather by a host of other abilities. Teamwork keeps ants thriving despite their small size. Horseshoe crabs still struggle to flip their dumbasses over, and they've been around since before the dinosaurs. And if you need yet another example of a physically pathetic species that has dominated the earth, simply look in the mirror. Homo sapiens would get bodied by 70% of the animal kingdom, and yet we are the only known creature to reach space of our own accord. Sure, we've taken out a sizable amount of other species along the way, including some of our cousins, all 8 of them, but we got some really cool shit now. We got Costco pizza, Latinas, and best of all, YouTube.
Hey, there's no time to relax. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, oh. Drake's. La la la.
We are, without a doubt, an incredibly successful species despite our comparatively lackluster physical prowess. Now answer me this. What is another word often used when referring to humans? Man. You know what else starts with an M and it would also thrive? Minmi. This little ankylosaur is outfitted with absolutely everything it needs to defend itself from creatures at its own trophic level while expertly avoiding anything that could pose a threat. At least, that's what its concept art suggests. However, because it obviously hasn't been released yet, I would like to clarify that this is, as always, speculation, and we're just here to have a good time. We're here to have some fun and have a discussion. I also decided that instead of coming up for a clever segue to lead into the next part of the video, I thought I'd show you this funny clip of a muskrat going for a dip. And hey, here's one of another muskrat inside its burrow. Wow, these guys can really do it all. I use muskrats as an example specifically because of their swimming abilities, but something like a raccoon would have also sufficed for similar reasons. In nature, generalists are considered species that can not only survive, but thrive nearly anywhere given resources are readily available. Raccoons and coyotes are often found in cities and in a variety of other habitats, each distinct from one another. And yet, both of these animals adapt to pretty much wherever they find themselves. But okay, how does survivability translate to fun in terms of gameplay? Judging by Minmi's concept art, it will be the ultimate generalist. Our sentient cheese puff will have the ability to submerge itself underwater to graze, dig, or at the very least occupy underground burrows, and conceal itself presumably by using its shovel-like snout to force its way under the dirt and basically become one with the earth, effectively hiding from predators. Which, funny enough, is I think the first instance of a form of camouflage we've seen one of the playables exhibit. Like I said, presumably, nothing about this is final. Oh, and there is something worth noting here in the lower left corner that says venom resistance, not immunity. Those are pretty important distinctions to make in this case. Jack of all trades is a phrase often used to describe the Isle's Minmi, and it's not difficult to understand why. Upon first glance, it might seem that the developers just didn't know what ability or niche to give it, so they kind of just threw everything at it that they could. I, however, believe it's done on purpose. Minmi is slow, small, and not very powerful when compared to the other crackheads in the roster, so in order to compensate, of course it would have developed a card deck of abilities to be able to survive. These traits make the animal what it is, fulfilling its niche perfectly. Whether in the redwoods, swamp, prairie, highlands, or even the islands, Minmi has the potential to make it anywhere. Sure, you can make the argument that a quick and easy escape could just be a press E to win situation, but I want to revisit the question, how does survivability translate to fun in terms of gameplay? Well, for starters, the number of possible encounters with other playables are quite literally endless, and not every single one needs to devolve into combat. Crazy idea, I know, almost like it's not a fighting game. Imagine playing as Minmi and you decide to settle down in the swamp, but oh no, a pair of ostroraptors seem to be patrolling the area. Will you risk hiding underwater for a more immediate getaway despite the possibility of being followed, or just say screw it and try to make the run back to your burrow? Or let's say you find yourself in the highlands at nighttime and come across a pack of hungry troodons. Will you make use of your venom resistance to fight back, perhaps bolstered by possible species-specific mutations, or cut your losses and wedge yourself beneath the rocks using your osteoderms as camouflage? That's not to say other creatures will not have similar means of escape or ability to engage in combat. After all, there are a myriad of other generalists on the roster, but simply put, Minmi has more options at its disposal when compared to other playables that allow for more unique encounters. You're playing as a Herrera in a field with no trees around? First of all, you're an idiot. Second of all, you're doomed if anything faster than you is in the area. What's that? You died as a juvenile dibble because you're physically incapable of outrunning a refrigerator? You should have learned how to burrow. No, but seriously, I'm sorry about that. This in no way makes Minmi completely untouchable. Players in open areas would still have to exercise caution to not be spotted by any large predators, and there's very little they'd be able to do in terms of protecting themselves if faced with aquatic or semi-aquatic creatures while grazing underwater. Also this, which is a good thing. Nobody should live without the fear of death. It goes against literally everything that the game stands for. Which brings me to an argument I occasionally see used when discussing Minmi, being that its potential playstyle would make it boring. If it can just escape from everything, how would gameplay be interesting? Number 1, the smaller end of the roster is often overshadowed by the much larger creatures. Understandably so, as a good amount of people would prefer to play as the dinosaurs on the heavier end of the spectrum. But this doesn't automatically invalidate the existence of the small tiers, of which there are more than several currently planned. Protoceratops, Oviraptor, Ostroraptor, and Monolophosaurus, as well as a bunch of other currently in-game small tiers, would all act as possible interactions for Minmi, as well as, you guessed it, other Minmis. Oftentimes in nature, the greatest competition generalists have in their ecosystem is each other. It's no stretch to say that Minmi players might have to butt heads in some instances for resources. We've already seen such behavior when Diabloceratops dropped and everybody was playing as it. There is also a very sizable amount of players within the community that enjoy being the prey. They get a kick out of being in danger, and I gotta be honest, I am players. Oftentimes when I got on the game, I prefer to run a small tier rather than a mid or larger, both because I don't always have the time to invest into something like a Cerrado or a Deinosuchus, and because I just find something very interesting about being a small boy in a big world. But in spite of all this, people out there will continue to call Minmi too easy, and to that I say, good. Oftentimes when discussing this creature, the idea of it being a tutorial animal is thrown around by the likes of guys like Goldfish Mentality and, yeah, me. Even in my first ever video on this channel, I spoke about the Ankylosaur acting as a great introductory playable. Additionally, it would be great to have a beginner-friendly creature to help ease new players into the unforgiving world of the Isle. Being as how there seems to be no tutorial level in sight, new players would be able to pick up Minmi, and if they die with it, that's a personal problem. I cannot believe that you guys actually watched this. This is terrible. The Isle is like prison. It's cold and unforgiving. New players do not have any idea what they are getting into when they buy this game. Almost every other day when I make the long, treacherous journey to the subreddit, there's always a person asking, what is this? And they'll be referring to the single most basic mechanic. I understand that the game is meant to be a hardcore survival experience. However, its unapologetically vague presentation has more than likely caused hundreds of players to turn away from a game they may have otherwise loved if they had just known what they were doing at the time. And if the idea of a tutorial playable is unappealing, why not just implement a hint mode, similar to the system they had back in Legacy, but with new and improved UI that further immerses you into the game while also being lore accurate? Yes, I know that was a bit off topic, I just wanted to show off the idea because I think it's good. Of course, there is an innate satisfaction in figuring out and becoming familiar with these mechanics. However, something like Minmi serving as a crutch for new players to exist in a more lenient way does far more good than it does bad. By being able to escape from danger more frequently, it gives newbies the time to explore without the frustration of constantly dying. The core survival experience would still obviously be present, but the learning curve would look a lot less steep. I could be entirely wrong about Minmi, and the possibility that it may end up being a much more frustrating playable than I and many others think it will be is very much a thing that may happen. After all, and I've said this before, Concept art is used to gauge the personality, playstyle, and general vibe a character is supposed to emit. It is never a tangible guarantee that the animal will be receiving everything the sketches show off. And to suggest that as a sort of set-in-stone ideal purposefully without giving some sort of disclaimer would be absurd and disingenuous of me to do. The prospect of being a small, adorable ankylosaur who keeps to itself and spends its time vibing both in and out of the water is just very appealing to me. Many others I've spoken to feel the exact same way. Besides, what else are we supposed to do in between updates if not discuss and theorize? Play Path of Titans? I've gone on record saying that a slower playstyle isn't really for me, but in this case it's a major exception. After all, it's important to remember that yes, while some people do play this game exclusively for the combat, others enjoy the simulation aspect and wish to simply spend their time as their favorite dinosaur, which I think stands as a testament to the versatility of the Isle and why it attracts all sorts of different players. There's a little something to suit everyone's playstyle, and nobody should be shamed for how they choose to play. Unless you're a mixed packer. Hey guys, it's me, Hershif, with a special announcement. I have a Twitter account. I'm not calling it X because I refuse to bend the knee to our corporate overlords. So go ahead and give me a follow over there. Twitter's supposedly really good for like content creator exposure and stuff, and I occasionally post there whenever I get mad. In all seriousness, thank you guys so much for watching this one. If you made it to the end, you're an absolute goat of a human being. Thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll have something else out for you guys hopefully very soon. I hope you enjoyed it. And what are your thoughts on Minmi? Do you think he'll be really good? Do you think it's an absolute waste of a dinosaur? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. But until then, this has been Kingfisher. Bye bye.